it, and so I did go way far out, didn't I? So energetically, I just always knew that there were phases and planes of existence happening. I just didn't have access because I was probably too desperate.
Seeking that wisdom out that you didn't earn.
Uh-huh. Or just trying to peg it through writing and feelings as opposed to having the actual experience. That which is theory can be disproven, but that which is experiential can only be disbelieved. And at a certain point, such as with serendipity, things began to pour in so consistently on a daily basis and become so experiential. And I began talking to people around me about serendipity as this factual thing that was happening on a daily basis. And I realized, I'm just being disbelieved. But I was in such a sustainably joyful place. Didn't matter. Now, here's where the plot twist happens, is that you would think when a fella sees the light, he runs to it, and can't say that that's what's always happened. I think I'm a sucker for this world and some of the instant gratifications and the materials. And so there was a point when I felt like I was in that Eckhart Tolle bliss, and I was there for quite a long time. And at one point, I ate a double cheeseburger. I think that's when it started again, when I was going away from the
double cheeseburgers will bring you back to sin real quick. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was a double cheeseburger that brought me back to hell.
Well, the double cheeseburgers at Whataburger are a one-way ticket to heaven, I'm pretty sure. So it must have been somewhere else.
There's so much story and context behind that cheeseburger, but we're just gonna.
Now I really want to know.
No, because then we get into really bad decisions, and this is about this podcast is very clear in its objectives to make good decisions.
That's funny. Speaking of cheeseburgers and Whataburger, do you remember the name of that boy from Houston? Boy, he's older than me. Man from Houston that wrote the Whataburger poem. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
I wish I knew his name.
Amir Safi? No. Oh, no. Yes, I can find out for you very easily.
I think it is Amir. It's Amir. I think you're really close.
It's Amir Safi. Amirsafi. And if it's not, tell me, and I will make sure and find that out for you. Which brings us back to that Houston show, because he hosted that night.
Yes.
And so I'm there. There's, friends since junior high are showing up to see what I do because at a certain point I was definitely, they knew something was happening with my career and my life that wasn't normal, and rolling with, anyways, I'm wanting to kill it. I'm wanting to throw it out of the park. I'm all, it was humid. It was Texas sticky outside that night. I had hired a gospel singer. I had written a new piece called Farmly, which we ended up doing a short story about. It stars everyone in my family. It's about my family. It's really heavy. It ended up winning the USA Film Fest for short film. You can see it on YouTube. It's called Farmly. And I was doing it that night for one of the first times. And I had a guy playing keys. I don't think his keys were weighted. I think it was like and then I
don't know enough about music to know what that means.
His keys weren't weighted, meaning like it couldn't sound like a regular piano, because it was more like a Casio.
Okay.
It was just plastic keys. And they were both incredibly nice. But here's what happened. I did that. So my friends were walking in. Some of them were late. Some were there. It's already sort of a strange, it's a new vibe for me. I might not have been entirely on. In fact, I know I wasn't. And it's such a vulnerable experience. And the three worst times to perform are when I'm tired, sleep deprived, small crowds, and people I know. And I was nailing all of those things. And so I do Farmly. I'm a couple pieces in, I'm doing Farmly, and it's this intense piece about my family. And at the end, this gospel singer is supposed to take us off into Midnight Train to Georgia. And we're supposed to start riffing. And I had talked to her for 5 minutes upstairs, telling her these cues and what was up, and she was just agreeing and nodding her head. Sanger, I have zero idea what forces were working with her between the time we talked and the time stage happened. But I don't know if you remember, but she started going, when I was done, she looked at me and then she was at her mic and started singing, Buddy, Wakefield is the greatest. Buddy, Wakefield is the greatest. The greatest. I was mortified. I think even if I was a narcissist, I would have been mortified.
She's landed on pretty thick.
So then there's this dilemma, like, do I just disrespect her and go stop her from singing and tell my crowd, listen, I did not ask her to sing Buddy Wakefield is the greatest. please know that. In any other situation in my life, the humor would take the front seat and I would just be able to tell the crowd, look, I would have just been riffing on how atrocious that was. Yeah. And, but I think I was literally so mortified and agitated that I couldn't get my comedy together enough to find a non-offensive way to tell her that was the shittiest thing she could have possibly done in front of everybody. God, I was mortified and I couldn't get it back together. I remember pulling it, even at my worst, I know I'm pulling something off and I know that at least the words are speaking, even if my presence is dampened. And that saves me often. You just want to nail it in front of your family and friends. And they were all so forgiving and loving. And half of them,
they don't even know.
Was that when I was making my little artistic justifications and excuses after the show, like, oh God, I was terrible. They were like, no. None of them, they were just so happy to see me do whatever the hell it is I was doing. Because in Baytown, Texas, it's not hard to explain to people who are in the city, let alone, what I do is not a normal thing to explain. But something else that's beautiful real quick about that night is that, and I just hung out with her online on Sunday, is that Ebony Stewart is also a world champion slam poet from Baytown. And it feels like a very rare thing indeed that two people grew up so close to each other in Baytown, Texas, both ended up making careers out of poetry slam, which is not normal. Yeah,
the odds are really low.
And we didn't know each other. Like we weren't pulling each other up. We didn't know each other because she was so much younger. And then we ended up touring together toward the end there. And she's the greatest opening act I've ever had. Like I just felt so stinking safe. She was undeniable on stage. She commands a room and she commands presence, whether she's a poet or not. And so, and it just felt like homegirl. It was just great.
It's awesome. How odd that is that both of you are from Baytown. There's hardly two well-known slam poets from Seattle, much less Baytown. Right. Incredible. Did you call your mom today?
No, I haven't.
Oh, we should call her.
It's my mom's birthday. She's 68. And I know that you're floored by that because I look 68, but that's because of 20 years of touring and the bad choices.
Those are all the bad decisions. Yeah.
Those are the bad decisions. But Mom is near Houston in Friendswood, Pearland. She's in Pearland now. She has no idea if we call her like this. You just have to be prepared, Sanger.
This is perfect.
We don't know what's going to happen. In a number of ways, we don't know what's going to happen. Okay? And something I do know is that she went and had margaritas with her girlfriends earlier.
Oh, this is exactly how I hoped this would go.
Okay. So it's 10 p.m. here in Portugal. What time? In Texas, I think it's
4 o'clock.
It's 4. Okay. Let's give Mom a quick call.
Okay.
Now, can we do this through where you're at?
You mean like me call her, or you call?
Yeah. For your audio purposes, do I just need to give you the number, or shall I call her?
I think if you just put it on speaker, it'll be perfect.
Okay.
What's her name?
Teresa.
Teresa?
Without the first
Teresa.
Just Teresa. Okay. And I mean, anything could happen, Singer.
This is fantastic.
You need to know this. Okay. Let's get this turned up here.
Yes.
Happy birthday to
you. Bum, 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 bum.
Happy birthday to you.
Get it, Singer?
Happy birthday, dear Teresa.
Mom.
Happy birthday to you.
You sweet old woman who's 60.
Excuse me, but the old part can stay out.
Okay, Mom, just so you know, we are on a podcast talking with Singer. In the podcast, Singer, tell Mom the name of this podcast.
Hey, Teresa, we're on a podcast called Decidedly, where we talk all about defeating bad decision making. So of course we needed your son on to transport some wisdom to our audience.
Mom, would you?
The bad decisions or the bad?
Well, Mom, now I was a good kid. Would you say that I've?
About the good ones?
Yeah. Would you say that I've been fairly good, made fairly good decisions, or which side would you say I've leaned toward? Good or bad decision making?
It depends on which day of the week it is and whether or not
Okay.
you're acting like it.
You're
Let me finish. Whether or not you're acting like your father or your mother.
You're leaving considerable room for doubt for Singer's viewers.
I think my mom would give the exact same answer, so I don't think you should feel bad.
Okay, great. Mom, how's your birthday been so far?
It has been wonderful. Thank you very much, and I'm so glad to hear from you.
Did you go have margaritas with the gals?
I did. No, with my husband.
Oh, with your
I
husband.
did.
Okay. Well, I want you to know that I hope you have a very happy rest of your birthday. I'm sending you love. Singer sending you love. And send your husband some love for me, too.
Okay. I love you.
I love you, too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, mister. Well,
Thank you so much. I'm sure it's your bedtime at this point.
I've got one more meeting. Because U.S. time, I'm 8 hours ahead of y'all.
See, this seems like
So I've got one more.
this seems like this is the part of living in Portugal that might have prevented me from making that decision.
It's worth
You just
it.
wake up every day at 11 a.m. or what?
Today I did.
So the open mic that you're doing is that's a really cool, unique thing that I
Yeah.
feel like what a clever way to kind of stay engaged, especially not only just living across the ocean, but
Yeah. It's just an easy decision for me. It keeps me connected to what started me. I got no expectations of it. Sometimes there's 30 people, sometimes there's it's usually around 30 people, and
sometimes 30,
and it's open to
sometimes
the whole world.
31.
It's so weird because I can do a concert online and hundreds of folks come, and I'm doing this open mic where anybody can come read and hang out, and it's about 30 people showing up, and it's actually just perfect intimacy wise. And I have special guests come out every week, surprise folks who are well-known spoken word artists, and they'll dip in and read a piece and get people going. And it's at 11 a.m. Pacific time, so right around church time on the West Coast.
Good.
And it's also picked that time because it's where most of the world can take part, wherever